Yo, what's up guys? It's the anime Wolfie back with another video. I changed my YouTube name and my YouTube picture. You guys wanna see my new and improved channel, be sure to look for the name Anime Wolfie. It's gonna be exactly the same with a different picture and more of my bio and a different, name. So today we're gonna do a Hey Arnold creepypasta called The Furnace. If you guys think you might like this episode, let me know in the comments below. With that being said, let's get into the video. I grew up as a child in the 90s, and my days after school were filled with Nicktoons. Flash forward 15 years or so, and I was browsing the movie section at a local Walmart when I am hit with a wall of nostalgia. Sitting on the shelf was a complete series of Hey Arnold. I have a crappy job, however, and they want $20, which in my mind just translates to 2 hours of work. I decided to be incredibly cheap and instead go home to YouTube some episodes to satisfy my urge to remember when times were simple. It was a mistake I won't soon forget. I get home, pop some popcorn, power up my laptop and begin to search. With a simple click, every episode laid before me. Satisfied, I begin to watch the episode. I begin to watch episode by episode. It was well into dark, and I was about to close my laptop when I noticed a video is suggested in the suggested video list. It was simply read, Hey Arnold, Lee. Sure, that Lee must stood for lost episode or something. I clicked on the video, excited to see an episode I never heard of before. When the page opened, it said in the box that the video had been removed, with a half-assed sorry, not sorry. Frowning red box staring at me. Further curious at this point, I scrolled down to the comments section for clues. They weren't that many views, so unsurprisingly there were only a few comments. The first two more or less expressed horror and confusion as to what they had watched, but the third comment caught my eye. It was from the original poster of the video, and he explained the video had been removed, but it could be still watched on his site, and provide a link. I always have fear of those believing in me a virus. When pounding curiosity got the better of me, I decided to click anyways. It led me to a site, which I can't remember the name. It's the typical basic layout, with tabs and ads in the middle. However, it was a small box to click on and play with the play arrow. I clicked and the video went full screen and began to play. I began to ease from my paranoia, and sat back and I thought I was about to have a chapter of cartoon memories added to my collection. I had no idea what followed with nothing, sort of terrifying, and would rock me to the very core. The video started out with a simple text that read, "What you're about to watch was the creators of the hit show Hey Arnold intended to be the original series finale." It angered and frightened Nickelodeon executives, and the episode was never aired as such. If you cannot handle the disturbing imagery, then you are suggested to leave. You have been warned. I was concerned by this, but pushed it from my mind as the upbeat jazz tempo rang out, and the theme song began. It was introduced as the furnace. The show itself started out with Arnold's teacher in the classroom outside teaching them about the chemical reaction and used them to launch the rocket. Harold expresses he wants to launch the rocket, but the teacher declined, saying there is no time and leaves to put the supplies. And the bell rings. And leave to put up the supplies as the bell rings. And then cuts to Harold, Sid, and Stinky opening the supply closet, stealing some rockets and the chemicals, and walking out, vowing to make a huge blast off. At this point, I began to realize something. The episode looks familiar. I got on my phone and did a little research and quickly found out that this is an episode that was aired as the final season of the show. I am beyond pissed, but I decided to watch anyway since I figured my computer was already infected with whatever virus the page carried anyhow. I clicked play again. The boys have stolen the supply that went behind the abandoned police station to blow the rockets, which coincidentally earning one of Arnold's tenants with a demolition man, my bad, is set to destroy by explosives. The boy launched the rocket and goes to the building, which the boys do not know is abandoned, and it blows up due to the demolition. The boys stupidly believe that the rocket was damaged and have killed several police officers, and they are now wanted fugitives. This is when things begin to get really strange. The video paused shortly. I moved my arrow and revealed that I knew the video was still playing. Soon it began again. Only now the quality has changed. It seemed like a cutover. Stinky knelt to the ground, exclaiming that they should go to the police. Harold berates him and disclaiming that they are sentenced to a death penalty. "We just killed the police, you idiot," he screams, clearly angry. The scene continues as Stinky begins to walk off, sobbing and claiming he plans to find the nearest police officer to tell him what happened. As was only a mistake. Harold became enraged, as he often does in the show. But this time, he charges Stinky and tackles him from behind. Stinky begins to put up a fight, but in no match for a much larger boy, especially since he hid his face first on the sidewalk. Sid. Harold yells, "Help!" Sid runs in front of the action, clearly confused and scared. He asks what he wants him to do. I should at this point, I'm becoming confused and uneasy. I am a die-hard fan of the series and I cannot recall any of this. That rock. Grab it. Sid looks down as he struggles, continuing to see a large rock laying by the dumpster. He hesitated. "Do it," Harold commands, "or I'll pound you." Clearly terrified at this point, Sid picked up the rock, and you can see Sid's eyes grow larger, and resistance set in as Harold said, "Okay, Sid, I'll hold him," while you bash his skull with the rock. Sid can't move as Stinky lay there with a scrapped up face from the struggle, desperately begging for his life while sobbing uncontrollably. Harold begins to plead to Sid and tells him if Stinky got away, they would never see their parents again. "You mixed the chemicals. You're just as responsible as I am," Harold screamed. "Kill him." Sid drops to his knees and brings the rock over his head and begins to bash Stinky's brains in. He closes his eyes, tears flowing around him, and screams, "I'm sorry," over and over, all the while continually smashing Stinky's head with the rock. He brings the rock down one last time. He sits back, chin tucked into the pure guilt as Harold breathes heavily, finally able to rest on the top of his lifeless body below him. They sit there in a moment in silence, when Sid simply whispers, "I'm sorry." They hear police sirens in the background, and not knowing it unrelated to them, Harold begins to panic. Sid, still crying, begins to ask frantically what they should do. Harold says they need to get out of here. They notice Stinky's body in the dumpster. Hightail it out of there. Stinky's blood still freshly pooled in the alleyway sidewalk. They run until Sid will believe to be their elevation Arnold's house. They climb through the window that drops into the basement. They scramble around and hide when they hear the door at the top of the stairs open. Harold hides behind some boxes and Sid hides behind the stairs. Sid sits with his knees up to his chest and his head between them, as if he were broken. Arnold came through the door, exclaiming at his grandpa that he is going to do some laundry, and began descending the stairs, unaware that he is not alone. He reaches the end of the stairs and hears something behind him. He turns and finds Sid sitting there crying, with his head between his knees. Arnold appeared confused and a little on edge. "Sid," Arnold asked, "is that you?" "We killed him," Arnold, Sid said softly in a whisper. "We killed Stinky and left his body in the garbage. No, God will forgive us now." Clearly shocked and scared out of his mind, Arnold is unable to call for help. Um, then he hears footsteps approaching from behind, and then rains induces breathing close, so close he could almost feel it. As the footsteps ceased, he turned slowly and stared into the eyes of Harold, who beams down on him with irritation and anger. It changed scenes to Arnold being tied to a chair with duct tape around his mouth, and you can hear the upstairs door opening. You can see the fear in his eyes. As muffled screams desperately tried to escape the tape. Grandpa comes down the steps and, probably due to some silently essentially or whatever that word said, I'm sorry guys, and is often played in the show, believes Arnold was just playing a game. He talks about the game and he laughs and he exits the door laughing about the imagination of a youth. And Arnold struggled against his restraints. He immediately screams for his life to deaf ears. He had no idea it will be the last time we will see his grandson alive. Just playing a game. Out in the back, you can see the boys exit from under the staircase. It cuts to a point of view from Arnold as he stares into the dimly lit basement. Sid and Harold entered the shot from each side and stared down at Arnold. Sid looks scared as he shakily asks Harold what they will do. Harold looks at Arnold and that same angry look on his face and says, "I'm sorry, Arnold, but no one is sending me to jail." The title screen goes black. It opens up the down shot of the basement as Harold closes the door to the furnace. The chair sits empty now and the rope cut up and laying on the floor. Some blood on the chair and floor around it. Sid kneels to the ground, absolutely crying. How could we do this? They were our friends. Harold appeared and felt a little guilt, and he explained to Sid that they need to do it or they will have been locked up. The next little bit of the show is a mashup of Sid crying. Harold's pacing, wondering what to do. As Sid looked into a knife of Grandpa sitting on the workbench and almost a look of acceptance on his face. This is when you hear the slicing sounds and worried, Harold rushed over and looks beside the staircase. They lean against the wall. Is Sid with his throat slit in some gruesome suicide? Harold looks at his scene in shock at first and then spiteful determination as he claims to his dead friend, "Fine, I'll do it alone then." And then he hears the loud conversation coming from the upstairs and beyond the door. And worried, it may be someone inquiring at Arnold. He sneaks up to the stairs to listen, but no one mentioned Arnold in vain. Instead of hearing Ernie bragging the rest of the tenants how he blown up an old abandoned police station that day, it took a minute for Harold's dull mind to register it. Then tears began to fall. His head flooded with guilt, and as he realized he murdered two of his friends that day and lost another simply due to a misunderstanding. He walks down the steps and sat on the last one. He hung his head in pure shame. The scene opens in an over-the-shoulder view of Grandpa as he opens the basement door and shouts to Arnold that dinner is ready and gets no response. Then he notices the chair at the bottom of the stairs is empty. He descends the stairs, and when he gets closer, notices the rope and blood surrounding the chair. He finishes his descent, fixated on the chair, and stands next to it, staring in confusion and worry. He double-glanced around the room, looking for Arnold, and his eye fixated on something a few feet in front of him. It's Harold hanging from the ceiling, swaying back and forth ever so slightly. Grandpa moves toward Harold in shock, unbelievable to express any emotions. As he nears him, he puts his hand and touches Harold, almost as to assure that if he was seeing it in real. Before touching Harold, he noticed something behind the boy. And to the right, it's flooded up with pieces of paper taped to the furnace. He approaches the furnace slowly, afraid to find more horrors, and retrieves the note. That suddenly read, "Aren't you glad it was just a game?" The camera cut to an inside of the furnace, facing it. It's pitch black as the door is closed. You can see parts of Grandpa through 3 rectangular holes that act as a vent. The furnace latch unlocks loudly. The door creaks open slowly. Grandpa's jaw closes and begins to quiver as he stares at what lay to the side. The only thing given to him is a hand of the sleeve of the same color as Arnold's shirt, pulled up, and the hand in the sleeve slightly soaked in blood. You look in Grandpa's eyes as he presumably looks upon the only grandson, the only remains of his long deceased son, as he lay mutilated in the furnace. The video cuts to black. Close the windows. I closed the windows and slammed my laptop shut as a small part of the missing childhood died. Everything were normal after that. I never researched the video or tried to find it again. I just really don't care, too, as I figured out it was loudly. A bit disturbing knockoff made by some overweight nobody of his mother's basement. After a couple weeks, however, I decided to, by the series, determined to not let my childhood destroyed by one incident. I began to watch episode after episode until I came upon one last feeling. Okay, I began to watch the episode after episode until I came upon one in the last season. It was titled On a Lamb. It was the episode the knockoff was based on, or vice versa, perhaps. I didn't remember too much from the episode, but it played through and began to feel disturbed. The similarity between the two were gut-wrenching. I mean, the episodes were the same until the police station was blown up. But even after, there were still eerie parallels. Firstly, after the exploder, Sneaky was the one who suggested going to the authorities. Next, Arnold would be tied up to the basement, completely furnished with a workbench and furnished, mind you, by 3 boys. At the moment that he only expressed interiors and slight anger. Then slightly later in the show happens that scene, that same thing scene. Grandpa enters the basement and talks about the game Arnold was playing. But it was obviously that anyone who is not crazy that Arnold is not playing game, and the look of interiors from the earlier is gone. The expression on his now is nothing short of pure heart-pounding freaking terror. He shrieks the way only a 9-year-old knowing death upon him. But once again, it was smothered by the duct tape as Grandpa closes the door, darkening the basement once again. Except no one dies in this version. It was the scene that had left there, cut short. The repurpose of the children's version. That it made me wonder if the episode could be true. It made me the creator of the show infuriated by the cancellation of the show. Initially had a much darker ending planned for the blonde-headed boy. Initially had a much darker ending planned for a blonde-headed boy with a football-shaped head. Later, Arnold comes crashing through the basement door and begins explaining everything to the grandpa. But in the back of his mind, I think, that's not Arnold. That's not Arnold. Arnold is still in the basement, dead in the furnace. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed that cartoon creepypasta. Kind of long. If you guys have, let me know in the comments below. Also, subscribe to my channel, and if you guys really like this, leave a big fat thumbs up. That really helps out the channel a whole entire lot. And tomorrow morning, I'm gonna do a reaction video, so be on the lookout for that. With that being said, guys, I hope you guys have an amazing day or night or whenever you guys see this. And I hope the best for all y'all. So have a good day or night or whatever. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.